Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann, and I show men and women how they can lead healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And today I'm really excited because I'm joined by Tanya Hood. Hi, Tanya.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. So for those of you that don't yet know Tanya, she works as an author, a coach, and a strategist. So I think, Tanya, a really great place to start would be if you tell us a little bit about your childhood. What kind of life did you have growing up as a young girl?
So I'm a native of Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. And growing up in that city at that time, it was like my personal oasis, my personal playground. For a lot of individuals, the United States capital is a museum. But for me, it was home. Playgrounds and fun places. The museums in my backyard were just more exquisite things to view.
Wow. And your parents, were they driven people?
So my grandmother raised me in my community, being a Black child in America, of sort of what we call a village baby. So my neighbors were family, friends were family, those that sort of families that connected with each other was just family. So I was raised by my neighborhood. So the bus driver that would make certain I got to school because we took the public bus systems back and forth to school when I was going. They were family. They made certain I got on, I got off because an 8 or 9 year old catching a bus alone was common because the neighborhood watched out for you. That's how DC was when I grew up.
Wow. Are you still in DC?
I live on the outskirts of DC now, but still not too far from home.
So I know that you trained as an electrical engineer, didn't you?
Correct.
What led you to making that as a career choice?
My family. So my grandmother and my godfather were the type of individuals that would help anybody with anything. My godfather was a mechanical engineer, and what he did on the weekends was help people rehab their homes. And what he did, when like most children, what your family does, lots of times you end up following. So because they renovated houses, he said he needed an electrical engineer. So my job was to go to school, get the degree, to come back to help the family out.
Was that something you really wanted to do or felt that you ought to do?
No, sometimes you end up doing things that you're good at, but you're not really want to do. And oftentimes, with a lot of individuals whose families are driven and goal oriented like mine, you sort of fall in line with what's being told to you. So I was told to get my electrical engineering degree because I was really good at math. And I like working with my hands. And I did not know then, but they knew because oftentimes your family sees your gifts. People can see your gifts whether you see it or not. And I was not aware that my proclivity for math and science was a great gift that naturally came to me. So they sort of knew before I knew, you need to go there. And then for my grandmother, her goal was to make certain that I empowered those that come behind. Because being raised in a Black community, I was taught that you go, you learn, and then you come back and you teach. So she intended for me to go to Howard University to get my degree, and that is what I did.
Wow. And that's a great thing to teach you, isn't it, from your grandmother?
Indeed.
Yeah, obviously, well, I haven't been gifted with the talent of maths, but obviously as an engineer, you have to be very analytical. And obviously, as you mentioned, it's about problem solving, isn't it? So what kind of challenges have you had to face in your personal life?
Well, there's a lot of challenges that just seems to be me, period, in the country that I was born in. I love being an American. There are opportunities that are afforded to me that I don't know I would have had in other places, but there are also some backdrop challenges. And in the past year in this country, that has been sort of a worldwide witness of some of the things that Black Americans have had to endure. But for me, I was prepared because I was raised in a family that already knew some of the things I would have to endure. My grandmother was a political activist. She helped transform laws in the country, and with my godfather being the one on the side that managed doing the rehabs. He was rehabbing homes for individuals who could not get loans from banks to do basic renovations in their house to make certain that it was safe and whole. And so while he was working on helping others get themselves into a better position by doing free labor sometimes, and oftentimes it will be a referral to paid work later, but you help where you know you need to. My grandmother would do the political elements, working with council members and going to Congress and putting measures in place. Something as simple as having a street light put in a neighborhood where little black kids like me are playing every day. There were street lights put in other neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., where individuals that did not look like me. You didn't have to petition for that, but you had to petition for a street light in a black neighborhood. And my grandmother was that person. So she let me know early on, you will have to be your own advocate, and it is okay. And whatever you learn, that's why she would tell me, go back and teach, because we had to help ourselves. But in doing so, what lots of people are beginning to see now, when one person is helped, we all are helped. Because at the end of the day, we are a collective, whether we choose to believe it or not.
Absolutely. What a woman, your grandmother.
Yes, she is a powerhouse.
Yeah, amazing. So I know that now, Tanya, you help people navigate the hurdles of life after divorce, don't you?
Yes.
Tell us about your own experiences of divorce, or experience, I should say.
So I got married at 21, and after 11 years, I found myself going through a divorce. To reset my life and survive my divorce, I developed strategies and actionable steps. You've already learned that I'm an electrical engineer by discipline, but I'm a project manager by trade. So the natural gifting that they already saw, we have natural gifts, we just do. And for me, it has been phenomenal to do what I love, both personally and professionally. And so I've taken a lot of those skills and I've written them down in a book that I wrote called Red Alert, Is He the One? The Pocket Guide to Finding the Love of Your Life. And I know the title sounds like it's just a relationship book about a woman finding a man, but it's deeper than that. The deepest relationship for us is finding ourselves. So my book is structured in three parts. First, having a better relationship with yourself, because that's where it begins, so that you can have a better relationship with others. And to make certain that you reach your next level, you really need to have a relationship with a being greater than yourself. And so my book walks through my journey, when I got married, what it looked like being divorced, how I had to navigate the hurdles with raising my two sons alone, the dating process, the parenting process, the
My,
journey of it all.
so you didn't have anyone to actually help you at that time, Tanya. You did it all yourself.
I had to, because my family is not the type of family that really believes in divorce. So when I decided after 11 years that this was the path that I would take, some were ostracizing me a little bit because that's not what we do. It is already hard enough having Black families with everything that society dumps on it in America to survive. And then to deliberately decide that you're going to dismantle that relationship, I knew, because of the God in me, that I was loved better than what I was getting. Now, my ex husband, beautiful soul when he wants to be, but we just weren't beautiful enough together to continue to grow. So we needed to go our separate ways because that bad behavior gets carried on. You don't often think about your children watching you, but they learn more by what you do than what you say. And when I saw my 9-year old screaming and arguing with the 3-year old, it's time to make some changes.
Yeah, we are role modeling all the time to somebody, aren't we? We really
Yeah.
are. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought up the subject of the book. For years, I've always thought that we actually attract the people that we need to learn from. And we do that because we learn those lessons and then we can evolve and grow. That's my theory. What are your thoughts around that?
I have the similar thought. And that's because I have a basic belief that God designed all of us to be connected. At the end of the day, the only reason we exist on this planet is to help one another. And because that is a belief at the core of my soul, what people don't often think of, we live out our basic beliefs. The goal is to try to know what that is, because when you tap into what your basic belief is, it sits inside of your value system, which fuels your purpose in life, and you show up and show off of that.
Mm. You mentioned God a few times there. There might be people watching who think, listen, I don't believe in God. Does that mean that the book that you've written won't have any relevance to them?
No, the thing about the book is a journey of life. I decided at 21 to get married. Some of it was because I was told. The husband that I had at the time was a husband that was chosen for me. And there are some individuals that may be in a similar situation. It's not that I did not have a basic care for him, but had I had the opportunity to really pay enough attention to what I wanted, I might have done things different. So I wrote in the book, well, what does that look like? Now, yes, the book is written on the foundation of my basic belief, but you don't have to believe in the God I serve in order to know that there is some basic skill sets that you could use. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior, but the book that I read as a Bible is a book that has basic principles that have been used worldwide. They are business principles that you can apply and that people use on a regular basis. They just may not be aware that it comes from that book, and that's okay. But if you apply the principles to your life, it will maximize what you want to do next.
Okay. So your book you mentioned is called Red Alert. Is he the one? Is there just one?
No, I have a companion workbook that I created to go along with the book. Because when I wrote the book, okay, let me pause. I never really intended to write that book. I just wanted to help those that had similar experiences like me get through it. Because, like I shared, my grandmother taught me when you learn, you teach. It doesn't matter who you are, but if you've gone through the trauma of divorce, we all have similar experiences and we all want to get out of it as fast as possible to get whole because you lose yourself in that environment. I lost me in my marriage and I needed help to get out. And being analytical helped me create, at that time, a 4-page outline. Because, okay, I'm an engineer. I wrote down the logic of it, I wrote down a plan, and I created a strategy. And in the book, I wrote down those actionable steps that helped me reset my life because now I'm remarried to the love of my life and my best friend, which just proves there is life after divorce.
Amazing. And what you're saying about strategy, I mean, it doesn't really matter what we're doing. We need a structure and we always have to take action. It's not just about sitting there and waiting for it to happen. So yeah, for those people who might be watching, Tanya, and maybe right now they're just getting over divorce, or going through it, what advice would you give them?
First, breathe. Because the chaos of divorce has our mind going in 9,000 different directions, and you see your world falling apart. And if you're an individual like me that always has been the one called upon to fix everything, you feel you have to fix all of it now. You don't. You need a moment. You need to heal. You need time to pause. And it doesn't have to be an exorbitant amount of time, but you do need to step off of the crazy wheel for a second or two.
I love that. Yeah, something so simple and yet so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are many, many divorce coaches. I mean, when you start looking, there are lots of divorce coaches. So what do you offer that's different that you haven't already mentioned?
So, what I offer is a particular strategy that helps you get the chance to reset and know yourself. Because, like I stated earlier, I got lost. So, I went on a journey, and this is written in chapter 1. So, chapter 1, I usually offer as a free gift, and I'll send you the link to send to your guests. Because in chapter 1, I let you know what I went through. Because if you're on the crazy cycle like I was, you want to get off. And part of that is knowing yourself. There's no way possible that you can make changes moving forward to what your future will look like if you're not clear who you are. You need to have a better relationship with yourself so that you can have a better relationship with others. And so by doing so, I went through all the different personality tests and I read about that. And one of the things that I learned was this assessment called Core Strengths. I love it and I teach it, where I give people a course that I teach called Navigating Life After Divorce 3 simple tools to identify your motives and your values. And then that will help you identify the motives and values of others so that you can make more sound decisions. Because a lot of people try to jump back into a relationship right after divorce because you've been with someone, like for me at that point, I was with this one person for a third of my life. And I had never been on my own before my divorce. I didn't know what it looked like to be by myself. And I did not want to be by myself. But when I discovered my core strengths, I discovered that my cautious nature, it's okay because it kept me safe. My supportive nature was great because that's what I gave as a wife and a mother. And knowing that that is a core value that I have that shows up in my motives and behaviors lets me know that when I meet people, me being cautious about how much I want to share, how much I want to give, but me also wanting to support them is okay. It works out well because in that environment, I get the opportunity to be me, but I also know to take time so that they can be them.
So important to take time, isn't it? It's, yeah, we're just so busy rushing around. Yeah. Of all the lessons you've ever learned in your life, Tanya, what would you say has been the most valuable?
The most valuable lesson is that I am marvelous just the way that I am. My quirks were given to me because somebody needs my flaws to know that it's okay and they can get through the journey too with their flaws.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a 20-year journey.
For that little nugget, thank you for doing that journey. So, I mean, it might seem obvious to you, but I want you to tell us, why is it you do what you do?
I do it because I have witnessed individuals go through my same hurt, and I know how to navigate a lot of the hurdles that they are experiencing. It is difficult to see someone struggling when you've got the answers. Don't just sit back and let people struggle. You know how to give a solution for that problem, give it. Walk through it. What I learned when I wrote my book, because I put my information in the back of the book, people started calling me. Now, first of all, not initially thinking to write a book, because I wrote it because my goddaughter was like, Ma, I got the 4-page outline, but I'm not logical like you. This does not make sense. What's the story? So I told the story to go with the outline and those actionable steps. I says, now that you know the story, can you apply the action? She was like, yes. And they walk through the action and they go through each of the steps. So individuals was walking through some of that, but the stories for a 24-year-old going through college, getting in her new relationship phase is different than the story that someone who is 35 or 45 or even 55, because I've had some that age contact me as well from the information in my book. It was like, okay, I get that part, but this is what I'm walking through. Did you go through some of that? And I was like, yeah. So here's the back part of the story that they didn't need that you are walking in, and let me walk you through that. And from there, the individual discussions and strategy sessions that I offer is what people needed. So that turned into a course. It turned into other services that I offer and provide. And I've helped a lot of people that way, which has been a blessing to me as much because, again, my core nature, one of my strengths is to be a phenomenal support system.
Brilliant. One final question, Tanya.
Yes.
When you're no longer on this planet, how would you like to be remembered?
I would love for people to say that she was there when I needed help. That even though I may not have been able to receive everything she wanted to give, I got one something to get me to my next level because I am aware I cannot give you points A, B, C, and D, but I can get you from point A to point B.
Wonderful. Tanya Hood, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so very much.
You're so welcome.